and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting to order. 6 o'clock. We're going to read the land acknowledgement first, if that's okay. At the town of Trenton, we acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This land is governed by the treaties of peace and friendship, first signed by the Mi'kmaq. We reside in the Pictou Landing First Nation, which is governed by a chief and 5 council. That being said, can I have the approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Any changes to the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We have a presentation first on the agenda. Brenda, the floor is yours.
All right, very good. Am I being on? Okay. So you have your packages in front of you. Council has their packages. So we're starting with the general operating budget. The total residential and resource assessment for 2025-26 is $118,823,100. Tax rate remains unchanged at 204 for total taxes of $2,423,991. The commercial tax rate, the 25-26 assessment is $6,315,200. Again, no change in the tax rate at $4.10 for total commercial taxes of $258,923. So overall, total taxes from taxpayers in Trenton is $2,682,914. This carries down into the schedules directly below. On the left is the budget from 24-25. In the middle is the projected for 24-25. To be clear, this is not 24-25 final. It is still projected. And the budget on the right is, the column on the right is the budget for 25-26. It's the column on the right that I'll be following down. So overall total assessable taxes is described above, $2,682,914. Then there's the assessment for solid waste. Again, that rate has not changed at $146 per dwelling unit for $156,000. Special assessment for the hydrant. Again, the rate has not changed at 0.145 per hundred of assessment. For fire protection at $275. So overall, total taxes paid by the taxpayers of the $5.7 million budget is $3,113,914. Other revenue for the town, $1,619,799 for Nova Scotia Power. That is a small decrease over the prior year. That's a grant in lieu. We have the deed transfer tax. Now, this deed no impact on the bottom line of the budget. Whatever we receive as revenue, we also pay out as an expense. So we've got $75,000 in revenue, and we'll have $75,000 in expense. No impact on the bottom line. Grants in lieu and others, so this includes Build Nova Scotia, Bell Alliant, HST Offset, provincial grants in lieu at $54,000. Small decrease over the prior year for a small decrease in the HST Offset. Services provided to other governments. This is $15,000 for fire protection to Hillside. Sale of services at $247,000. This includes recreation services mostly for the park and the rink. We are conservative when we budget for revenue. Prior years also included funding for projects where the expenses are in the expense side and the revenues on the revenue side, both inflated. And remember, the prior year we had what Craig describes as the perfect world for rink revenue. We don't expect the perfect world to exist every year. Other revenue from own sources as well. Most of this is interest, and again, we budget conservatively. Also, our bank balances are coming down a little bit as compared to the prior year, and interest rates are lower than they were, particularly at the beginning of the year. So other revenue from own sources is $129,000. Unconditional transfers. This is the Municipal Financial Capacity Grant at $420,000. That will remain unchanged. I think we have maybe 3 more left, and then it will decrease. But they're maintaining that grant at $420 for the next, it was for a total of 5 years, and I think we're in year 2. Conditional transfers from government. Conditional means we spend money in order to get money. So it's not always a full funding, but the conditional transfers, the $31,000 is the MPAL and some student funding. Again, the previous year had some funding in it for which the offset is in expenses, net zero impact on the bottom line. First, $75,000, that's a transfer from the water utility, which is seen as a separate legal entity from a budgeting perspective. Overall, our total revenue is $5,782,715 for budget, which is a 0.68% increase over the prior year. Note, we have to provide a balanced budget. So if we have a 0.68 increase in our revenue, we also have a 0.68% increase in our expenditures. On the expenditure side, legislative services, which is council, at $90,000. This allows for FCM and NSFM conferences, attendance at both. General government services at $849,965. That's regular increases and an extra increase for insurance. Protective services, police and traffic, so this is police and crosswalk guards. This allows for the police contract as per the contract with New Glasgow at $892,000. Protective services, fire and other at $446,000. The increase over the prior year there is $34,000, an increase in fire protection. That fire protection is paid by the general operating fund to the water utility. So it stays within the town of Trenton, pocket to pocket. You'll see fire protection revenue on the water utility side, and that's what this represents. Transportation services at $1,053,528. The increase over the prior year is relative to the fact that we had an additional person, but we did not have that person for the full. The person was budgeted for the full year. We did not have that person's time for the full year. So the current year budget has that additional public works employee full-time hours. Environmental health services. Note there's a small reduction over the prior year, and the prior year had the pumps for the lift station, which will not repeat again this year, and that was to the tune of $15,000, so that had a significant increase. So $418,385 for environmental health. And that includes, that's ERIC and solid waste is what environmental health is. Environmental development, which is planning and building inspection, the Wren, Main Street and Fun Fest at $96,000. Recreation services at $830,000. Regular increases there, but we also have some additional expenditures expected. We have to repaint the pool. We have to gravel the parking lot at the rink. We have to update the fire and alarm systems at the rink. We've got a drainage issue in the janitor's closet at the rink, and there's a pump to be fixed. There's some additional computer requirements, and there's going to be a rate increase for water. Again, a rate increase in water on the general operating side is revenue to the water utility. So stays within the town, but the general operating must pay its use of water to the water utility. Financing is principal and interest, small decrease over the prior year because the principal balances are slowly declining every year, but that will increase next year because of the debenture for the storm sewer separation. And that's $375,000. Outside service providers, this includes the Regional Center for Education, PVSC, the Regional Library, and the Wellness Center at $605,000. Transfer of deed transfer tax. That is the deed transfer tax I mentioned on the revenue side, $75,000 in revenue, $75,000 in expense, and that's the deed transfer, which is transferred to the Wellness Center for the Wellness Center and the hospital renovations. Internal transfers at $50,000. This is as per our FCI action plan. We are transferring $50,000 to operating reserve to continue to build our operating reserves. The prior year projected is the excess from the prior year, which we are planning to move into capital reserve and use it to help fund the 25-26 capital requirements, which you'll see in a moment. So you'll see expenditures at $5,782,715 equal to the revenue, and therefore a balanced operating budget for the general operating fund, maintaining all tax rates. Any questions?
I have just one, Brenda. So your estimates for revenue are conservative, though, right?
I try to be conservative, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we move on to the water utility. So the water utility operating fund, again, the structure's the same. Budget 24-25 on the left, projected in the middle for 24-25, and the budget for 25-26 of the right-hand column, which is the one I'll be referring to. Metered revenue for 25-26 at $960,000. That represents the increase in the rates as per the UARB. Fire protection at $378,000. That's part of what I referred to in the general operating fund. General operating fund pays the water utility, the fire, so it's an expense on the water side, on the expense on the general operating side, revenue on the water utility side. $318,000 of that $377 is coming from the general operating fund. The balance is coming from the county. And miscellaneous for $14,000, again conservative for interest. Overall revenue for the water utility, $1,352,270. Operating expenditures, source of supply at $45,000. That looks like a significant increase over the prior year, but in 22-23, we had some significant issues on the well side. We incurred about $54,000 of expenditures. This is one of those categories of repair and maintenance where you can be very high or you can be very low if you have no issues. We ride a little bit in the middle toward the high side, again, to be conservative. So that's where the 45 comes from. So it's allowing for potential repair and maintenance that is not anticipated. Power and pumping at $62,000, that's electricity costs and pumping repair and maintenance. Purification at $377,000. This again allows for, I mentioned the full-time public works employee that was not in place for the full year last year. That employee was being shared 60% public works and 40% water utility. So the same thing here, the prior year had that person, but not for the full year. So the budget's allowing for that person for the full year. Transmission and distribution at $153,000. This allows for your water line repairs whenever there's a water leak. That the repair and maintenance for water lines is included here. It also has an annual allowance for water meter replacement. So we're trying to replace water meters consistently with a lump sum amount every year, and we're increasing the number of water meters we're replacing this year as compared to last year. Administration in general at $121,000. Most of that is a payment to the general operating fund. The water utility does not have employees, it does not have a building. We do a calculation based on percentages of some general operating costs, and the general operating fund charges the water utility for administration. So it's revenue on the general operating side, it's an expense on the water utility side, net zero impact to the town of Trenton. Depreciation at $106,000. That increases for the increase in our asset base, and most particularly, the reservoir is expected to be in use for 25-26. There's been no depreciation on that asset at this point because it's not actually in use. So we're anticipating by next year, the reservoir will actually be in use and depreciation will start. So that's the biggest reason for the increase year over year in your depreciation. And remember, that depreciation money is literally a transfer of funds out of the water utility operating fund, given into the water capital fund called depreciation, and it is there to be used to replace water utility assets. So again, as much as it's an expense, it's going to a good place to help fund asset replacement. Taxes at $33,000, they are paid to the general operating fund. That is your property taxes. Total operating expenses of $898,950. Interest and principal on debt, we borrowed the $3 million for the reservoir. This is the first year that we're going to see a principal payment. So principal and interest for the 25-26 year is $198,000. For total expenditures of $1,097,572, the surplus of $254,698. That surplus will go toward helping to fund our assets going forward. As we go forward, our depreciation expense is going to go up, and that surplus will slowly come down. But the good thing having it now means we can project out a little bit further before we have to go for another water rate study. So it puts us in good shape. Any questions on the water utility? Okay, I'll move on to capital. We have quite a list of general capital assets. I'll simply walk down through it, give a brief description. So the street repaving, Park Street, Bernard to Dutchess, Dutchess to Strickland, Scotia Street, Park to Main, Crook Street, Duke to 12th, Charles Street, Grandview to Rose, and Charles Street, Caroline to Grandview for $204,000. The sanitary and storm sewer upgrades on Oak Street, $1,312,185. The storm sewer separation project, 7th Street up to Dickey, $928,855. Heat pumps for town facilities to help us save on heating costs, $267,805. Outdoor recreation facilities, that's the multi-use recreational space, which has started, but will be completed in 25-26 for $253,140. The rink upgrades for $54,035. That's to replace the chiller, its mats, new doors, and push button. Strickland Avenue investigation for $50,000. The accessible path at the park for $28,000. Recreation MPEL projects for $25,000. Youth Center accessible ramp and door for $22,000. Cameras for Trenton Park for $16,000, and a ride-on mower for $12,000. That's total capital of $3,173,110. How are we paying for that capital? We're going to apply to the Provincial Capital Assistance Program for Oak Street if we are $656.93. We've already received the grid program funding for the storm sewer separation project at 50% of that at $464,428. The balance of those two projects after we apply PCAP and the grid will be a $1.1 million debenture to fund the balance of those projects. That debenture, remember, the principal and interest will be funded out of the general operating fund on a go-forward basis. The Provincial Strategic Funding Initiative, this is for the multi-use recreation space at $233,140. Canada Community Building Fund, that's for the paving, at $204,090. Efficiency Nova Scotia, this is funding toward the heat pumps at $144,090. Sustainable Communities Funding, this is the balance of the heat pumps. If we are not successful with the Sustainable Communities Funding, we will use capital reserves for that. The Provincial rink upgrades funding at $42,325. Community Accessibility Grant for $33,000. That's related to the path, accessible path and the youth center. And Provincial Active Communities funding for the MPAL projects at $16,665. The balance of $135,045 from capital reserve. Now remember, if the Sustainable Communities funding is not received, that capital reserve amount will go up by that amount. We have the funding from the surplus, projected surplus from 24-25, fund those capital projects for 25-26. That's a lot of detail. Any questions?
Just one clarification. The Canada Community Building Fund is the former gas tax, right?
Former gas tax.
Just in case people say, where did the gas tax go?
Yes.
It's we love calling things by their old names too, but just in case anyone thinks
Yes.
gas tax is gone, it's formerly known as gas tax.
It is. It's much easier to say gas tax.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions to Brenda? And I know this is a lot to take in. We've had 2 meetings on the budget. And sometimes, you just kind of gloss over, but Brenda,
It's a lot. We have one more.
we have one more.
Just one more, and then it's back to you guys.
And I'll just look at Dan and say, I hope you're paying attention.
Yes. Did you hear all that provincial funding? Good. Well and building for well number, water use. The well and the building for well number 4 at $249,250. We'll be applying. We have applied for PCAP funding for that as well. If we're successful, 50%. Water treatment plant upgrades plan. The water treatment plant needs to be replaced. The first thing we need to do is a plan of action. So we're assigning $50,000 to have a consultant decide what help us decide what we need to do for the water treatment plant replacement. And the GIS mapping system to map the water lines for $15,000. So overall, $314,250. Again, I mentioned PCAP, 50% of the well number 4, building and well at $124,625, and the rest from the depreciation funds. If you recall, I said in the water utility operating fund, we do a calculation of depreciation. That money is literally moved into a separate bank account to be used for asset replacement. So we're planning to use $189,000 of the current depreciation balance to fund the balance of the assets. Now I'm done.
Does anybody have any questions to Brenda on the presentation? Brenda, great job. Thank you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
So now we're going to move on to approval of the minutes of regular council meeting on April 8, 2025. Are there any corrections to note? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We're going to move on to reports. Public Works report. Any questions regarding the report?
I have one question, Ally. I
Councillor
see
Cameron?
there that our public works supervisor helped with some dye testing on, I'm assuming it's going to be Strickland. That says there, helped out with some dye testing on some streets. Would that have been Strickland?
I spoke to Alan, when, yesterday? And Alan says, the engineer for CBCL confirmed for me that the dye testing, I believe, is concluded on Strickland. So I'm guessing you're right, that
Yeah.
dye testing was done in and around Strickland, so.
Now, did they give you a date when that was done, Ally?
I didn't ask him,
Okay.
right, Councilor
But
Cameron. Didn't
that
ask
will
him.
be available, will it? That wouldn't be confidential information.
It wouldn't be, no, but I question why you'd want it, though.
Well, just to see
If he
what
says
they-
it's done, it's done.
Well,
right?
just to see what date it started on, and then what's gonna follow next on it, which,
We can get staff to follow up on it. Right.
okay. So I'll be able to get that then, will I? The date? That wouldn't be a big issue, getting it from the engineering company.
I can get staff to ask CBCL if they have a firm date of when he did the work.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Any other questions on that Public Works report? Water treatment report. Any questions on the water treatment report?
I have a quick question. It's not on the report, but I just wonder, for my own benefit and maybe some others, are you able to speak to the process if someone's having an issue and what types of issues people can reach out to? Like, I know on our website we have listed like Public Works and after hours and when we should be reaching out. Are you able to speak to like brown water? Like, I know I have people reach out to me and I'm like, did you call the town office or things? Are you able to talk through the process of when people should be reaching out and how people can reach out, or the best way to? Because sometimes that's my first question to people. I'm like, did you contact the town? Because I can't fix a certain issue, so just curious.
I'll get the CAO to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Dubb. Councillor LeBlanc, we have a complaints or a concerned page on our website. So
Yeah.
if residents have a concern within the town, they can go to our website. There is a concerns link section. They can upload their information, and it's automatically sent to administration at Town Hall, and they can, at that point, send it off to the correct department to follow up.
And there's an
Or
option for
contact-
photos there
Pardon?
too, right? You can upload photos for
That-
that. So
that's
even
correct.
for water and things, if it's brown or like whatever's going on, that they have that option, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's that option if they don't want to contact Town Hall directly.
Yeah.
So either or, and then the concern is directed to the correct department for
Okay.
follow-up.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Over the last several weeks, that staff are on the ball when it comes to stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
this. And when a call comes into the office or comes up over the internet, on Facebook, wherever we're popping it up at, that staff are really good at getting there, answering the questions, and then moving on, so. Any other questions on the water treatment report? Here, now we'll move on to the fire report. Any questions on the fire report? Hearing none, we'll move on to Parks and Recreation. Any questions on the Parks and Recreation report as presented?
I'll have a question.
Councillor McKinnon, yes.
How much is the pickleball using the rink at the moment until the pickleball courts are ready?
Well, when I played, they played on Tuesdays and Thursday nights.
Tuesdays and Thursday nights.
Yeah, from 6 to 9, I believe. Stephanie, don't quote me on the exact times, but I believe it's somewhere in that range.
Okay.
I have conflicts now, so I can't play on Tuesdays and Thursday nights here. Any other questions on the Park and Recreation report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the police report. The well-written police report, I might add also, so. Any questions on the police report as presented? Go
Can
ahead.
I just make a comment? Because I had asked for an easier format, and that was a good, easy format, like a step above like a children's photos. But that was really like, I was like, dumb it down, but I think they did it in a really great way that it's easy to digest, have a look at what some of the issues are compared to last week, and even what time stuff is happening. So there's some things. So I just really appreciate the effort that went into that I felt like I could actually read it and really understand it well. So appreciated needed it to be reflected that I had asked and appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a great report based on past reports that we looked at. And a lot of this, I think, Nicole, was due to the questions that you asked, Chief Leo, when he showed up here. Thank you for that. Any other questions on the police report? Hearing none, I know there's no animal control report in your bulletin, so we'll move on. On to proclamations. I have a pile of them here. The first one is the VON acknowledge VON flag raising on May 18th to 24th. So I'm going to read out this proclamation, and I'm going to do it in Cape Bretonese, so please bear with me. So, whereas the Victorian Order of Nurses of Canada is a charitable, community-based healthcare organization that has addressed community health and social needs for 128 years, and whereas the VON Pictou nurses, home support workers, community service coordinators, and many other staff and volunteers have been caring for the lives and well-being of residents of Pictou County since 1923. And VON's nursing, health and promotion, and support services make a contribution to the health care system in Nova Scotia. Therefore, be it resolved that I, elect of Mayor Trenton, Mayor of the Town of Trenton, hereby proclaim May 18th to 24th, 2025 as VON Week here in Trenton. I would like to encourage all residents of the Town of Trenton to support VON and their community by sharing positive messages and financially supporting VON's Pictou charitable programs. And I'll need a motion from council to accept that proclamation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. We have the Lyme Disease Awareness Month, a proclamation and flag raising on May 6th to 9th. The proclamation for Lyme Disease Awareness Month reads as follows. Whereas Lyme disease is a serious illness caused by the bite of a black-legged tick infected with the bacterium. I'm just not going to read that out because I'm going to mess that up. I know I am. So it's Barilla, Burgdorferi, whatever. And we're somewhere in that range. And whereas black-legged ticks carrying a variety of diseases or illness can now be found in all parts of Nova Scotia, and whereas awareness, education, and practicing preventative measures such as daily tick checks and proper tick removal can help reduce your chances of contracting tick-borne diseases. Therefore, be it resolved that I, elect of Mayor of the Town of Trenton, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Lyme Disease Awareness Month. And we're going to date that today. Can I have a motion to accept that proclamation, please?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Cameron?
I'll second.
Councillor Cullen? Any question on the proclamation? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We have the Gaelic Nova Scotia Month, proclamation of flag raising on May 12th to 16th. Whereas 2025, the 25th anniversary of the Gaelic Nova Scotia Month, which is a time to embrace, honor, and celebrate the language, culture, history, contributions, and achievements of Gaels across the province. And whereas the Gaelic language and culture are integral components of the identity of Nova Scotia, and that Gaels represent one of the earliest non-Indigenous cultural groups to settle in Mi'kma'ki. And whereas new generations of language learners and cultural champions continue to build upon the legacy of Gaelic, Nova Scotia's tradition bearers, and whereas government commits to collaborating with Gaelic communities to support the growth of Gaelic Nova Scotia through opportunities for language acquisition, cultural awareness, and capacity building within communities to ensure Gaelic language and culture remain vibrant elements of the living linguistic and cultural landscape of Nova Scotia. Therefore, I, Mayor-elect Dove, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Gaelic Nova Scotia Month in the municipality of Trenton. Can I have a motion to accept that proclamation, please?
I'll make the motion.
Councillor LeBlanc,
I'll second that.
Councillor McKinnon. Any questions on the proclamation? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried, and I thank the audience for putting up on my Cape Breton knees there. Right. We have some correspondence. We have a letter from Minister John Lohr, Municipal Affairs. I'm going to ask Alana to read out this, well, I guess this entire list, and she can answer any questions or concerns pertaining to the, thank you. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mayor Dove. So the first item under correspondence is a letter from the Honourable John Lohr, Municipal Affairs, regarding the investment by the provincial government regarding how the province manages records related to fire services. So I'm just going to read out the body of the letter, which details how the province is moving forward with this initiative. The current fire records management system used by the Office of the Fire Marshal was initially implemented over 30 years ago and is nearing the end of its life cycle. The needs of our fire professionals have evolved, and we are working to implement a modern solution that will more effectively support current and future requirements. The new fire records management system will be designed to help the Office of the Fire Marshal, fire departments, and municipal inspectors better manage, organize, and analyze data related to fire incidents, inspections, compliance, and personnel. This software will ensure that fire professionals have an efficient, reliable way to support fire services in the province. The project will start this spring, and it is anticipated that the implementation will take approximately 2 years to complete once a vendor is selected. There will be opportunities for our municipalities to be engaged in the coming months once a project manager is hired. The project manager will be reaching out to understand municipal needs and to collect information about how the new system can support municipalities and fire departments across the province. The second item under correspondence is the Healthy Pictou County April 2025 report. And the last item under correspondence is, and it was an attachment in your email that Mary Lou sent out last week, is the Pictou County Chamber newsletter for May 2025. Any questions or concerns related to these three items under correspondence?
Great, a healthy Pictou County report.
No, thanks. I have no questions on that.
Anybody have any questions on the correspondence that we received? Hearing none, we're going to move on to council committee reports. We have the New Glasgow Regional Police reports from March 2025 and April 2025. Any questions regarding the reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole. Scott, you were the chair of Committee of the Whole, sir.
Okay, our last meeting, the following recommendations are for council's consideration from recent Committee of the Whole meeting. Recommendation number 1, on recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, council approved the signage policy. Recommendation number 2, on recommendation of Committee of the Whole, council approved the low income exemption 2025-26. Maximum exemption that will be granted is $279 for persons with total household income less than $29,315 in 2024. Recommendation number 3, on recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, council approved the Comfort Center policy. And if we could just make the one motion and pass all three, if it's,
So I'll need somebody to motion we pass all three of these exemptions.
I'll make a motion to pass all three.
Councillor Cullen,
I'll second that.
Councillor McKinnon, any questions on any one of the motions, any one of the recommendations from the Committee of the Whole? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Under new business, we have the budget motions 2025, 2026, and I have the joy of reading those. We have the 2025-26 budget motions. Be it resolved by council of the town of Trenton, that the general operating budget for from April 1, 2025 to May 31st, 2026 be $5,782,715. I'll need a motion to,
I'll make a motion, but you said May, so it just needs to be March. Sorry.
that's it, March. That's it, April. Excuse me again, April,
Just March 31st instead of, you said May, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I just,
there you go. See,
seems
that's
like
right. My
sorry.
blindfold. So I'll read it again. Be it resolved by the council of Trenton that the general operating budget for April 1, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 be $5,782,715. I think you just wanted me to read that.
I did, I was just talking, I'll make that motion.
Councilor LeBlanc. I'll need a seconder.
I'll second that.
Councilor McKinnon. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Second one, be it resolved by the council of Trenton, the town of Trenton, that the water utility operating revenue be $1,352,270, and the water utility operating expenditure be $1,097,572 for April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026. I need a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Cameron,
I'll second.
Councilor LeBlanc, any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Be resolved by the council of the town of Trenton that the general capital budget for April 1, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 be $3,173,110. I'll need a motion to accept that, please.
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Cullen, can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councilor McKinnon, any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. And finally, be it resolved by the council of Trenton, of the town of Trenton, that the water utility capital budget from April 1, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 be $314,215. Can I have a motion to accept, please?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor McKinnon, can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councilor Cameron, any questions on the resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The tax resolution for 2025-26. Alana, can you read through that for us, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Duff. So the tax resolution for 2025-2026, be it resolved that the general operating budget of the town of Trenton for the period of April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 be approved, accepted, and adopted in the amount of $5,782,715. Therefore, be it resolved that the tax rate for the town of Trenton for the period April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 be set at $2.04 per $100 of assessment for residential and resource properties at the assessed valuation of $118,823,100. $4.10 per $100 of assessment for commercial property at the assessed valuation of $6,315,200. The solid waste annual user fee rate of $146 per dwelling unit, and fire protection rate of .145 per $100 of assessment. Be it further resolved that the rate of taxes for the current period may be collected by warrant and distress without further notice if not paid on or before the 31st day of March 2026, together with all costs and expenses of levy and sale of good and all proceedings incidental thereto, and further, if the said taxes are not paid before May 31st, 2025 for the interim bill for the interim tax bill, and October 31st, 2025 for the final billing, an additional penalty charge will be payable at a rate of 15% per annum on the balance of all outstanding tax accounts.
Can I have a motion to accept that tax resolution 2025-2026?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Cullen, any questions on the tax resolution 2025, 2026? And I know it was a lot tonight, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Last one, Fire Chief. Mr. Ray. Trenton Fire Department, Wayne Elaine, Fire Chief for the town of Trenton, has officially submitted his resignation, and the town council has formally accepted his decision. We want to thank Wayne for his years of service to the town and wish him all the best going forward. Council will be officially appointing Deputy Fire Chief Raymond Anderson as the new Fire Chief for the town of Trenton. Raymond has served 30 years on the fire department and 21 years as the deputy chief. A little lower than that, right?
A little lower.
Okay. Want to give me the number?
It's over 10.
Okay. 10 plus years
10 plus,
as the deputy fire chief. His dedication and leadership have been instrumental to the department's success, and we wish him all the best in his new role. All right? Thank you, Ray. And I think I'm going to get a photo with you there, Ray, if you don't mind.
Thanks for the opportunity to,
Thank you for accepting.
hopefully fulfill the job.
Right.
No, we'll do one later. Yeah. We'll do one later. Thank you. Thank you.
And again, Ray, thank you. All right, thank you for your service, and thank you for your continued service as our new fire chief.
Alec, could we say thanks to his family as well that are here?
Absolutely.
Joining him? Yes, we can. You don't have to be on camera, but we'd like to acknowledge and thank his family as well. We'd be remiss, so thank you guys, all of you.
And to Nicole's point, Stephanie, we all know the sacrifices that, wives and husbands make, boyfriends and girlfriends make, when that alarm goes off. I'd imagine there's a bit of stress in your life when he jumps into that fire gear and goes away. But, we appreciate the work and the dedication. We truly do. So thanks again. Thanks to your boys and yourself. All right, and Ray, keep up the good work. All right?
He's got a good crew. So thank the good crew.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to move on to do a little bit of round table. Here's Scott Cameron, right? Do you have anything on the round table, sir?
The only thing I want to say, Alec, is, well, congratulations, Raymond. Our ad hoc committee for the park, we've just about finished, and we're just waiting basically on one person. We had an employee, a supervisor, manager from the Halifax Water, and he went out to the park last week and looked and gave us some really good advice on cleaning up the area. And with that in mind, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, we'll have a presentation and go from there. And it's just dry camping. And one of the things that the committee has looked at is the propane fire pits rather than the open flame.
Yeah.
It's just dangerous, right? And from campers that we've talked to, they think it's a great idea too. So
Right.
anyway, that's my round table.
Thank you, and I look forward to that report. Councillor McKinnon?
I don't have anything to add. We
No,
just,
nothing
no,
at all.
it was a great event with the volunteer award ceremony.
Yep.
And I get to attend that, and that was very heartwarming. So that was a lovely event.
Yeah. Councillor Cullen?
Yeah, a few things. I was able to attend the Town of New Glasgow 150th anniversary, so congratulations to New Glasgow, and 150 years. And also members of council attended the celebration for the accomplishments of Pat Dunn, our previous MLA for Pictou Center. And I even got a hug from our current MLA, Danny McGilvery. I actually wrote that down. He's a hugger. Congrats to Pat for 14 years of service to serving Pictou Center. This Thursday, I've accepted the challenge at the Pictou County Zavfest to represent town of Trenton at the pizza box making competition at the Wellness Center. So I'm going to be there making pizza boxes. And just so other councilors know in the other towns, I used to work for Mia's Pizza, and I used to work for Sam's at Stellarton. So my pizza box making skills are refined. So I also just want to mention that I won't be attending the June 10th council meeting as my daughter Caitlin is graduating from Dalhousie University. So Bachelor of Arts in History with a minor in Indigenous Studies. So she's currently working for the Mi'kmaq Friendship Center in Halifax. So yeah, I'll be absent in the next council meeting. So please make note of that. And that's all I have.
Well, congratulations, Donnie, on your daughter. Right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Counselor?
Yes. I just wanted to say thanks to Ground Search and Rescue. I think it's been a tough time in the past little bit, so just wanted to say thank you to them. Shout out to the town of Glasgow. I did the flag raising, not the evening session, and it was really nice. You could tell when you were going through town that something special is going on. Just want to say congrats to Betsy at True Colors as well in Cheyenne. It's nice to see True Colors back on Main Street and going, which is wonderful. Also congrats to the new restaurant. So the former Steel Town is So Eat It. I think I said that correctly and got it right. So exciting to see a new sign up there. And just want to say congrats to our solicitor, Greg McDonald. I saw today that he was celebrated by Patterson Law for practicing law for 50 years, which is incredible. So just want to give congrats to him. That's all.
Now, I have to go through my list and start crossing some things off. So, yeah, I noticed today also that True Colors has had the reopening, so, and I've talked to Alana about, sending some sort of congratulatory thing there. So, as we all know, express yourself as over there and open, and, when you get an opportunity to go down there to buy a coffee, have a good chat with these guys. That's another good thing there. East Cut is up to 100 employees. Right. So another good piece of news for the town of Trenton. When they get to 1,000, right, we'll throw a big party on the main street. Karina's, of course, is open at the park. I mean, I noticed that that we led the way on Go Green, Get Clean, and led the way, I guess, in two ways. One, we had a significant contribution from the schools, and the downside is we collected the most. Garbage, for lack of a better way of putting it. So, I mean, and we were significantly higher than everybody else. That's due to the participation, yes, but to other reasons. But anyway, the people who did. Oh, yeah. Oh, Cohen's. I drove by there today. I thought it said Creed. Thank you. It's Cohen's. All right. And I want to thank the town staff for the reception and congratulate all of the volunteers. I mean, you're the heart and soul of community. We can't do it without you. And I want to particularly congratulate Walter Smith as being nominated as the Volunteer of the Year for the town of Trenton. So I do have one question. No, there's a meeting of the regional deer. There's a regional deer meeting on Thursday. Anybody? I have a graduation I have to be in. A regional deer meeting, 1 o'clock in New Glasgow. So we're going to meet as a region and discuss the deer issue. I can't make it.
Thursday?
Yeah, 1 o'clock. New Glasgow, downtown Chambers. Okay, well, we'll have some representation, right? And lastly, Mr. Cullen, I want to thank you for the text on Pat Dunn's reception. I'm sitting at home and I'm reading some notes on council, and I get it ding, and I look, and of course my calendar, I had it 2 weeks ahead. So anyway, so Donnie sent me a note. I jumped in the car, jumped the suit on, got down there just in time to eat supper. So I mean, it was thank you again for that.
You're welcome.
So we'll do a little round table here. We'll start with, I guess, anybody in the audience. What do you want to? Do you have anything to say? All right, so, anybody else who'd like to speak?
Joey.
I need a street light. How do I go about getting that?
Can you, I know your face, but your name escaped me.
104 Grandview Avenue, Jody McKay.
Jody McKay from 104. Jody, I think I have a note on that or somewhere. I think the Public Works, I'm going to pass this over to the CAO. She
Yeah.
mentioned something to me earlier today, and I wrote something down, but my notes are somewhere in this mess. So,
Okay.
Right?
Hi,
Do you
Jody.
apply?
Yes.
Hi, I don't know how you go about it, so.
So you can, as Nicole had noted earlier in the evening, you can submit a request to our concerns page on our website.
Okay.
But this was discussed at our committee of the whole in April, and I do know that there's going to be a follow-up to council on how our superintendent determines streetlights in the town.
Okay.
And but I would suggest first submitting your concern and your issue through the website or directly call town hall with that concern.
Okay, I already talked to Daryl about it back in November, but
Okay.
he was gonna talk to his guy and get back to me, and he never did, because the rule is every second street light, apparently.
Yes. I will certainly follow up
Okay.
on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
All
okay,
right.
thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else have any concerns they'd like to relay at the mic? Then I guess we're done, right? Meeting adjourned, right?
No, in camera.
Oh, no, we're going to do it in camera, sorry. That means we have to say goodbye to you guys, right? Ray, thank you.